All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? I know this was not a scheduled Zoom, but I wanted to get this presentation out. I made a promise to do this presentation last week and wasn't able to get it out. So I wanted to go ahead and get this out to you guys today. I'm excited about this, man. This is some powerful information that I'm getting ready to share with you guys. This is probably one of the most, this is probably the most powerful presentation I've done since I've been doing these presentations, guys. It was eye-opening for me. Um, this is my wheelhouse, man. This is what God has called me to share the information He's placed inside of me, man. He's really filled me with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of um, this monetary system and how this system that we have came to be. And what I'm getting ready to share with you guys right now, man. 99% of you probably have never seen this information before. But I'm going to share because God told me to. So I'm going to share with you guys. Um, and like you guys always hear me say, you can always lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. But I'm going to share with you documented information, guys. You guys know how I feel about documentation. Documentation beats conversation every time. So we're going to talk about the currency and the collapse of the Roman Empire and what you guys are about to see. This might get shut down, man. I don't know. Well, we're going to see. But that's why I'm recording it. So just in case. But what I'm about to share with you guys, you're going to see how this country went back 1900 years in the history to find a system that they can use uh, to take control and have power over people as it relates to our monetary system. 1900 years, you're going to see a whole lot of similarity in what we're doing today and what one of the greatest empires in the history of the world did 1900 years ago and what caused them to collapse. This is going to be powerful. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. I know I got people logging in from all over the place. Please share this to your timeline. This is going to be some powerful information. Again, most of you guys have never seen this before. So this is going to be powerful. This is going to be powerful. All right, so we're going to give it a couple minutes, let you guys share to your timelines so we can talk about this. And again, guys, if you can understand history and you can recognize history, then you can put yourself in position to not allow that history to affect you if you see it coming up again, especially when it's bad history. When you're able to put your finger on it, you can recognize, hey, we've been down this road before, then you know how to put a plan in place or put a strategy in place to make sure that that doesn't affect you and your family. Very important that you understand that. All right, so I'm not going to prolong the time. I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. I see my partner Reggie B is on here, man. I think I need you to monitor the Facebook comments for me. I see a couple of people on here. Apostle Barber, I see Apostle Barber's on here. I see my man Tony Working is on here. Quite a few people have logged in. I appreciate you guys. Erica, Monique, I appreciate you. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into this, guys. I promise you that you will not be disappointed as we get through this presentation. So let's go ahead and get into it. Currency and the collapse of the Roman Empire. So at its peak, the Roman Empire held to 130 million people over a span of 1.5 million square miles. Again, the Roman Empire was one of the largest, probably the most wealthiest and largest empire in the history of the world. All right, great empire. And what made them so great is back in those days, guys, when countries and kings took over territories, they would displace the people. They would take the people out of the land that they just conquered, and they would take the people back to their territory, or back to their land, and they would make those people follow their rules, their laws, their culture. That's how it was done back in those days until the Roman Empire came on the scene. Now, if you know anything about biblical history, guys, you know between the book of Malachi and the book of Matthew, a lot of commentators and a lot of uh, students of the Bible would tell you there was probably about 500 years between the book of Malachi and the book of Matthew. And I tend to believe the reason why God waited so long to send Christ into the earth is because there was not a kingdom system in place yet that he could use to teach us about his kingdom. And we all know how God works. We know how Christ worked. He came teaching us parables about the kingdom, but he always related it to something that where you can understand it. Well, when the Roman Empire took over, they did things differently. So when they took over a territory, guys, they didn't displace the people. What they did was they sent a governor to that land, and then they made that land look like um, their country, made it look like Rome. All right, so the people in that land had to follow Roman culture. They had to follow Roman rules. Um, that's how they took over countries. All right, and I believe that's the model that God was looking for in the earth, because we're supposed to be ambassadors for Christ. We're supposed to make this place look like heaven. So that was free. All right, that was free. So I just want you to pay attention to that as we go through this presentation. So this was 117 AD, guys. This was 1900 years ago. Right, 1900 years ago, and they had a lot of territory because they went and took over these territories and made these places look just like Rome. So Rome had conquered much of the known world. The empire built 50,000 miles of roads, as well as many aqueducts, amphitheaters, and other works that are still in use today. Today, our alphabet, calendar, languages, literature, and architecture borrow much from the Romans. Even concepts of Roman justice still stand tall, such as being innocent until proven guilty. So how could such a powerful empire collapse? That's the question that we're going to answer in this presentation today. How could such a powerful empire that had all that territory collapse? All right, so let's get into it. The Roman economy. Let's start with the economy, guys. So it was trade that allowed a wide variety of goods to be imported into its borders. So they were trading things like grain, beef, and olive oil, glassware, wine, spices, and silk, iron, silver, and lead, marble, timber, and tin. So these are a lot of the vital things that they traded during this time as they went from place to place. And you can see how big this map is again, because all these travel routes and trade routes that these guys are doing um, throughout the country, hitting all these different places. So this is around 200 AD. Trade in the Roman Empire, they were all over the place, guys, just doing trade. This was the economy. Well, trade generated vast wealth for citizens of Rome, but here's the problem, guys. However, the city of Rome itself only had 1 million people, and costs kept rising as the empire became larger. Sound familiar? Administrative, logistical, and military costs kept adding up, and the empire found creative new ways to pay for things. Along with other factors, this led to, and whenever you see something in red, guys, you know it's not good. Hyperinflation, a fractured economy, localization of trade. I was just talking to my partner Reggie B about something, an article that I came across today. We're getting ready to get into localization of trade because nobody else wants to do business with the United States. I want you guys to remember that. Heavy taxes and a financial crisis that crippled Rome. So these are the things that were happening, guys. All right, as their civilization began to get bigger. All right, costs kept rising, so they had to try to do something about this. They couldn't continue to allow this to go on. So again, this is 1900 years ago, guys. Everything you see in red is some of the same things that we are experiencing right now today in this country. Amazing. So here we go. Roman debasement. The major silver coin used during the first 220 years of the empire was the denarius. And you guys know I love to talk about this denarius because I often use the parable of the vineyard workers when the vineyard worker went out to hire people to work in his vineyard, and he was paying them what the Bible says, a penny a day. And I always like to talk about this penny because then again, just proves to you the manipulation, guys, that we're going through in this country. So when I say penny, you guys think about a penny. A penny in your mind is a bronze little coin because that's all we've ever known a penny to be. But you go back to the original intent and original meaning of the word penny, and the original meaning behind the word penny is the Hebrew word denarius. It was a silver coin, not a bronze coin. This coin, between the size of a modern nickel and a dime, more than likely it was like the size of a dime, was worth approximately a day's wages for a skilled laborer or craftsman. During the first days of the empire, these coins were of high purity, holding about 4.5 grams of pure silver. Now, if you guys have heard me talk about this before, a denarius took care of a man and his family, took care of their shelter, their food, their clothing. One denarius. And it was only 4.5 grams of silver, guys. It wasn't even a whole ounce of silver. It wasn't even a whole ounce of silver. 1 second, guys. My wife is calling me. I got to let her know I'm in the middle of a presentation. All right. All right. Sorry about that. What we got here? Coach Dave was coming in. All right. So again, guys, one denarius was able to take care of a man and his family, and that was only 4.5 grams of pure silver. This was even back in those days, 1900 years ago, guys. That was the power of silver because, again, that was the money that God put into the earth for us. So they started out right, just like we started out right, right? We started out right too. When our dollar first came on the scene, our dollar, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'll wait till I get to that part of the presentation. So again, a denarius was a silver coin, guys, weighing at 4.5 grams of pure silver. I've told you guys in the past, money was always created to be weighed and not counted. That's the way God intended for it to be from the very beginning. However, with a finite supply of silver and gold entering the empire, Roman spending was limited by the amount of denarii that could be minted. This made financing the pet projects of emperors challenging. How was the newest war or tharme, palace, or circus to be paid for? Roman officials found a way to work around this. I want you to remember that, guys. Roman officials found a way to work around this. In this country, guys, they always find a way to work around things. Let's take a look at what they did. As you can see, guys, again, they coins started out with 90% silver. Sound familiar? It started out with 90% silver. So what they decided to do was to debase the currency. By decreasing the purity of their coinage, they were able to make more silver coins with the same face value. With more coins in circulation, the government could spend more. Does that sound familiar, guys? This was 1900 years ago. You can't tell me somebody inside this system, however many years ago it went, or however many years ago they decided to go back in this history and pull out this same system, guys, and apply it to our country today. So they went from 90% silver inside of their coins to down to 50%. And so the content of silver dropped over the years. So you can see this little chart right here. They started at 90% and eventually worked their way all the way down, guys, to nothing inside of the coins. If you guys understand our current system right now, there is no silver in any of our coins that's dated 1965 or older. And I'm going to show you that. I'm just documented. Okay. So by the time of Marcus Aurelius, the denarius was only about 75%. By the time it got down to Gallienus, the coins had barely 5% silver. Let's talk about our history today. All right, let's fast forward to where we are, 1792, the Coinage Act of 1792, more commonly known as the Mint Act or the Coinage Act. This is when we established the United States Mint, guys. This is when we decided that we was going to use silver in our coins. Okay, we decided we was going to use silver in our coins back then. But again, the same thing happened in Rome. The same thing happened to us. World War I came on, all these wars started coming on the scene. They had to find out a way to pay for these wars. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the exact same thing that we did. So what I want to do is highlight what was in this Coinage Act. Very important, guys. And I told you about our dollar. When our dollar first came on the scene, it was not paper. It was a silver coin. I'm going to show it to you. This is from the actual Coinage Act. It says dollars or the same is now current and to contain 371 grains and 4/16 parts of a grain of pure or 416 grains of standard silver. So it was 371.25 grains of silver is what our dollar was. That's what our dollar was, according to, this was law. This was written law, guys. And check this out. Now, here's what happened to you if you decided to do what the Romans did back then, debase the currency. This is section 19 of that act. And it says, I'm going to read the whole thing. And be it further enacted that if any of the gold or silver coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint shall be debased or made worse as to the proportion of fine gold or fine silver therein contained, or shall be of less weight or value than the same, ought to be pursuant to connivance of any of the officers or persons who shall be employed at the said mint. Long story short, guys, I go down to the bottom. It says every such officer or person who shall commit any or either of the said offenses shall be deemed guilty of felony and shall suffer death. If you were to debase the currency, guys, which means take the silver out of the coins, that was a penalty of death. LBJ did exactly that. So in 1965, he enacted that law and he came out with the Coinage Act of 1965. Well, he had already committed the crime because the old act was still intact before this one was even signed. Look what this one does to our currency and what happened to our currency. Eliminated silver from circulating United States dimes and quarters. So any coins, again, out of 1965 and later, guys, has no silver in it. But anything that was 1964 or earlier, it had 90% silver in it. But look, we did worse than what the Romans did. They went from 90% to 50%. We went from 90% to 40%. Amazing, guys. This presentation blew me away as I was doing research and putting all of this together. This is simply amazing, guys. So let's continue. Again, they went from 90% silver to 50%. We went from 90% to 40%. Greed, 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 greed. So in his Coinage Act, when he was signing his Coinage Act, guys, you can go actually look for remarks at the signing of the Coinage Act of 1965, and you'll come across this document. And it actually shows you the remarks that LBJ made when he was signing this act into law. You guys think that all of this stuff was just done, or it's because of things that are happening in the economy that cause the price of gold and silver to be manipulated? No, it was intentional, guys. This was 58 years ago. It was intentional. And I'm getting ready to show it to you right now. These are his words, guys, and I'll quote. If anybody has any idea of hoarding our silver coins, you know what hoarding means. Hoarding means that you're a collector. You're just collecting a lot of stuff, right? So we're going to replace that word hoarding with collecting. If anybody has any idea of collecting our silver coins, let me say this. Treasury has a lot of silver on hand, and it can be and it will be used to keep the price of silver in line with its value in our present silver coin. Ladies and gentlemen, if this does not sound like price manipulation, I don't know what does. It was intentional. And you guys know I've always taught, and I always taught you guys over the years, when you do the opposite what the government is telling you to do, you do the opposite and you'll be all right. This is why, guys, I've been stacking precious metals since 2008 because I understand what's going on. Now God has given me even more to show me what's going on. And I'm sharing it with you guys today. This is powerful. This is powerful. So what were the consequences of debasing the currency? The real effects of debasement took time to materialize, like it's taking time right now. It's taking time to materialize, guys. There's one or two things that's going to happen with our monetary system today. Only one or two things can happen. The country has to go bankrupt, or there has to be a reset of the monetary system. Which of the two you think is going to happen? These guys are not going to let the country go bankrupt because it's going to affect them too. But if they reset the monetary system, it won't affect them because they're doing the same thing that they're telling you not to do. Central banks are stacking precious metals like it's going out of style. So my question to you guys is what you think you should be doing. So adding more coins of poor quality into circulation did not help increase prosperity. I'm going to say that again, guys. Adding more coins of poor quality into circulation did not help increase prosperity. It just transferred wealth away from the people, and it meant that more coins were needed to pay for goods and services. Remember, guys, if you can recognize this history, and when you can recognize that this history is trying to repeat itself, you got to do something about it. You have to do something about it. There is a wealth transfer happening right now, but you got to make sure you're on the right side of this wealth transfer. Don't get caught short, guys, like a lot of these citizens did. Man, at times there was runaway inflation in the empire, and we all know what's going on today. Again, remember, guys, this was 1900 years ago, and we're still dealing with the exact same thing today. Albert Einstein said you cannot fix today's problem with the same thing that created the problem. You can't do it. And you're insane if you think you're going to continue to do the same thing and get different results. You're insane, guys. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we talked about 90% silver, how it worked its way down to zero. And here's what Emperor Caracalla did. He said this, and I quote, "Nobody should have any money but I, so that I may bestow it upon the soldiers." And what he ended up doing was he raised the soldiers' pay by 50%. Why do you think he did that? Because the value of the money was going down. And back then, he needed them soldiers to protect him. So by 265 AD, when there was only 0.5% silver left in a denarius, prices skyrocketed 1,000% across the Roman Empire. Only barbarian mercenaries were to be paid in gold. Guys, if you know anything about currencies crashing in our world today, now every major currency in the history of this world has went to zero. Venezuela is one of the countries that I like to use as an example. So in Venezuela, guys, prior to 2012, if you wanted to buy an ounce of silver in Venezuela prior to 2012, you would have only paid like 212 Bolivar, which is their local currency. Do you know right now today, guys, in order for you to get an ounce of silver, even right now today in Venezuela, it's going to cost you over 100,000 Bolivar. Matter of fact, it's more like 200-something thousand Bolivar for 1 ounce of silver. Because the currency crashed, guys. I hope you guys are paying attention to what's happening here. So what are the effects? With soaring logistical and admin costs and no precious metals left to plunder from enemies, the Romans levied more and more taxes against the people to sustain the empire. All right, here we go. Here we go. So now the country's making all the mistakes, but the people are paying for it. Hyperinflation, soaring taxes, worthless money created a trifecta that dissolved much of Rome's trade. Guys, we're going through the exact same thing in this country. The economy was paralyzed. What do you think is happening to our economy? By the end of the 3rd century, any trade that was left was mostly local, using inefficient barter methods instead of any meaningful medium of exchange. So they started to tax the people. What do you think is happening in our country today? Most of you should be familiar with this debt clock. We've shared it before. U.S. debt clock. The numbers in the red are not good. The number to the top, the very top, where it says U.S. national debt, that number is not good. And if you go to usdebtclock.org, guys, you will see that this number is not going down. It's continuing to go up, and it's moving by the second. But that's not the number I want you to pay attention to. That is the number I want you to pay attention to, because the same thing that the Roman government did, all right, started creating all this debt, and now they had to create a tax system for the people to pay for it. Guess what? We did the exact same thing. Look at debt per citizen and look at debt per taxpayer. Let's deal with the debt per citizen first. That's $100,000 of debt that each citizen is responsible for paying back from debt that the government created. So I went and I looked up Google, and I went to Google and said, what makes you a U.S. citizen of the United States? Here's what Google says. Generally, people are born U.S. citizens if they are born in the United States or if they are born abroad to U.S. citizens. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is when that doctor spanked you on your behind when you came out of your mama's womb, and the moment you opened your mouth and you started crying, you had breath in your body, you just became a citizen of the United States, and you were just born into $100,000 worth of debt. Every baby being born right now in this world, in the United States, is being born into $100,000 worth of debt, right off the grip. So now you understand why they had to create this system that we have today. Why you got to go to school. Why you've been taught to get good grades. Why you've been taught to go out and go to school and get a college education. Why you've been taught to go out and get a good paying job. This is the reason why this system was created, guys. So one way or the other, they're going to get this money from you. And you all already know, once you become old enough to work, now what you owe is almost double. Look at that number. Debt per taxpayer. Once you become a taxpayer, all right, you working a job, you got a W-2. Now you went from $100,000 to owing $259,000 worth towards the national debt of the United States. This is crazy, guys. This is crazy, but this is the system that we have attached ourselves to. And the reason I say we have attached ourselves to it, because really, truthfully, guys, if you're part of the kingdom of God and you're a citizen of the kingdom, we should have never attached ourselves to the world system. There's two systems operating in this earth today. That's a whole nother presentation. Whole nother presentation. So the collapse. During the crisis of the 3rd century, 235 to 284 AD, there may have been more than 50 emperors. Most of these were murdered, assassinated, or killed in battle. The empire was in a free-for-all, and it split into 3 separate states: the Gallic state, the Gallic Empire, the Roman Empire, and the Pomeranian Empire. Barbarian invasions came in from every direction. Plague was rampant. Guys, we have not collapsed yet, but guess what? We're heading in that direction. Because everything that happened to the Roman Empire is happening to us today. You got to pay attention to what's going on around you guys. This is so powerful to me. I thank God that I was able to find these slides. Where it wasn't slides, I created them, put them into slides. But he was allowed me to find this information, man. This is powerful. This is powerful. So I hope that I shared enough with you guys to show to you and prove to you that we're living in a matrix, guys. Everything that's happening inside of our economy is intentional. From a 1900-year-old monetary system that was put together by the Roman Empire. And we're suffering behind that same system today. You got to make a decision that when you recognize this history, and I just showed it to you, that you got to do something to protect you and your family, because the government's not going to do it. You got to take your power back, guys. Come out of the system. Come out of the system. So I hope you guys got something from that. Man, again, I've been waiting to do this presentation for a long time. But yeah, I'm looking at the comments now. Just a simple, right of the bat, stacking 6 step of the life cycle of money. Yes, sir, Reggie B. We are in the 6th step of the life cycle of money, but people are losing confidence in the currency. That's what happened to the Romans. The citizens started losing confidence in what was going on. The government had to reel them back in with the tax system. Same thing happening to us today. The exact same thing is happening to us today, guys. You see, I got a comment on the Zoom. Let's see. This was rich and powerful. Thank you for sharing. Hey, I appreciate you, Coach Dave. Appreciate you, man. All right, you guys. I just wanted to get that presentation out. I did record this, so I'm probably going to be posting this to my YouTube channel. It's time to get in position, guys. We've seen a lot of things. There are a lot of things trying to disguise themselves as God's system, and none of this stuff is God's system, man. Only thing God put in this earth was gold and silver, and it was a reason why God put gold and silver in the earth. We got to make sure that our foundation is strong. You got to understand, guys, what's happening with our money, and you got to protect your family from what's getting ready to happen. Because if a reset happens, let me help you guys understand a reset. Gold was always the metal that was used to balance the books when it came to our currency. Okay, so but wherever gold went, though, silver would be right behind it. So in other words, gold, when we had so much currency circulating in the country and we had to balance the books, gold had to be at a certain price in order to balance everything out. Remember back in the day when they confiscated gold, gold was at, I believe it was, I think it was $20 an ounce, something like that. And then when they confiscated the gold, because they wanted to balance everything out, like not even the next day or a week later, gold went from $20 to $35 an ounce because they had to balance everything out. This has been done over and over again throughout our history, guys. That's how gold got to the price it is today. But it's still being manipulated. You know why? Because it's not accounting for all the currencies right now. Why? Because a lot of this currency is in different countries. Guess what's happening today? A lot of these countries are shipping that currency right back to the United States. And Reggie B, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We just read articles today concerning that. Y'all better pay attention to BRICS Nation. Pay attention to the BRICS, guys. All right, I don't want to draw this out. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. Again, I'm going to post this to my YouTube channel, and please share this, man. Share this across your timeline. People need to know what's going on. People need to be able to recognize how we got to where we are today. It's amazing that it went 1,900 years back in history to pull something out of history, not to benefit the people, but to benefit the government. Amazing. All right, guys, take care. God bless. Appreciate you guys. And we'll be chatting with you on another presentation. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. And we'll be chatting with you guys a little bit later.